Welcome back to Ghost Watches. I'm Casper, and today we have a first look video here for you guys. I have a brand new watch company and a brand new model from them. This is the Nereus Santiago. Nereus is a spin-off of the Sensi Strap Co. And a couple days ago, I reached out to them on social media, on my Instagram, and we were chatting and realized that we're practically neighbors. They're just down the road from where I live. And so they were gracious enough to lend in this pre-production model here of their upcoming watch. So this actually is something of a time-sensitive video, as this Friday, September 18, 2020, they're going to be taking pre-orders on this watch over on their website. Link is down in the description if you're liking what you're seeing here. This sub-style watch comes in a couple different variations. You're going to get a black or a blue variant, a version with a date window like this one, or a version with no date. And then you have two choices of bezel inserts, this 12-hour bezel or a regular countdown dive bezel. So let's dive in. And just first off, straight out of that, when I opened this up and took a look at it, the first thing I thought was they absolutely nailed the shade of blue. It's not too bright, not too subtle. It just has a nice, understated, almost muted color. If I was to go and pre-order this, I think I would be picking up the blue. It just is that good. Measurements are fairly standard. You've got a 40mm case diameter. Actually, if you take it, just looking at the bezel, you're looking at 41mm. A 41mm blue sub-style diver. Taking a look at the sides and back here, we have it's a 10mm case height, but with the domed sapphire crystal, it does come out there to about 12mm. Really, really nice thin profile on wrist. You can see there, it's just the right height, I feel, for a submarine style watch. Powering this watch is a Miyota 9015 automatic movement. Pretty standard workhorse movement that a lot of microbrands are starting to use now. You are going to get a fairly good amount of service life out of it. Be aware, like with most Miyota movements, there is a little bit of rotor noise when you get it spinning inside. But it's nothing too bad, and when you have it on wrist, it actually kind of disappears into the background. But just be aware, that's just a feature of the Miyota movement. But using that movement means you end up with some really good features on your watch, including, here we go, hacking, so you can have some precise time setting, and it is hand winding. You have a pretty high beat rate of 28,800 beats per minute and a 42-hour power reserve. This is pretty much all you're going to want in a sub $500 microbrand style watch and a movement. Cool feature that they're doing here on the date wheel. It isn't actually on this pre-production version, but it's going to have a roulette wheel, meaning you're going to end up with certain days of the week being in red. So I think that's just a really cool, nice pop of color. Personally, I think I would actually get this with a no-date dial. It just is that good of a dial. And what jumps out to me just straight away is the lume plots. You don't see a lot of companies, microbrands coming out with just good old-fashioned applied lume. They laid it on thick and heavy. You have BGW9, which glows kind of a bluish green, and it actually takes a good amount of skill to lay a nice circular plot. I've actually tried to do my own, and it's actually harder than it looks to get it to be this way. So kudos on Nereus for going that extra mile and not necessarily going with an applied marker, but taking the effort to go in with that old school applied marker. Speaking of which, and just to give a quick comparison, I've got a Yamaha Superman Heritage with, and this is actually the version 1 of the reissue. You can see that kind of vintage look of the applied markers. It's a classy look, and I think they nailed it with this dial. The other thing that I'm noticing here is just really good, clean lines. It's not cluttered. They kept the branding to a minimum. Very classy, good font and typeface, and everything is just applied on there beautifully. One thing to note, because this is a pre-production, one of the things they're going to do is that re-hot on the inside, that chapter ring that you see that on the inside there, they're actually going to narrow it in a bit so that it's actually touching onto just the tip of the minute markers. I think that'll really class up the overall design and make it a little more polished. I'm glad that they're taking that extra step in the design process. The bezel is 120 click. Man, I'll tell you what, it's got a great sound to it. The actuation, the amount of torque it takes to turn it is just the right amount, so it feels solid, but it's not difficult to turn. It turns really easily, and it's got a very positive mechanical click, ratcheting click into place. I must say, this isn't the best bezel I've used, but it's very close. This bezel here with the 12-hour is a very useful complication to have, especially if you have friends, say, in the West Coast like I do. You can just go ahead and crank this around to monitor a different time zone. I find this a very useful feature on certain watches, but on my subs, I also like to have the countdown for doing things like timing, food on the grill or that kind of thing. So you have a choice, and I really like that Nereus is giving you those options. Lights out, I'm really loving the vintage lume look here. Yes, you've got kind of that bluish green BGW9, but because they use lume dots instead of applied markers, it just has a really old school vibe to it. Very similar to what I have here on my Yema Superman Heritage, but I'll tell you what, it's less than half the cost of this guy over here. I think you're getting really great value. Nereus sent over 2 NATO straps for me to take a look at. So from what I'm understanding, you will be able to get a canvas quick release strap, one of these seat belts, and man, this is a silky smooth Sissy Strapco seat belt. You definitely want to wear this. It is so comfortable. I don't have that bracelet here right now because Nereus is kind of reworking the design on it. They're switching to a female center link, so kind of like here on the Yema, it just falls straight down and it kind of hugs your wrist. I'm excited to see what Nereus is going to do with that bracelet, but where I feel this watch really comes into its own is with a nice quality Tropic strap. Nereus, if you're watching, it'd be really cool through Cincy Strap Co. to get a good Tropic strap, something that's really nice and flexible and pliable. I have here, of course, the Tropic brand strap. Let's throw this on watch real quick. You'll see what I mean. You do get drilled lug holes, really nice thing there to make strap changing real easy. And there we go, 20 millimeter lug width, so you can throw on practically anything you already have in your drawer. The Nereus Santiago on wrist with a Tropic strap. I feel like this just comes together, a nice vintage dive watch style here, and it just completes the entire package. Yes, these NATOs are great. You definitely want some of these Cincy Strapco NATOs. The bracelet that they're designing is going to be really nice quality, and it's going to fit your wrist very much like the bracelets that I enjoy on some other brands. Throw in the Tropic strap into the mix, and I think you have a nice, well-rounded watch that will take you into pretty much any circumstance you want to go. You can see there as I'm turning the bezel action, real easy to get a good grip on the bezel. Even with your fingers slightly sweaty or wet, you can adjust the watch just fine. Final thoughts on the Nereus Santiago and their pre-order. If this style is something you are after, and if you are liking the features and the price point, yeah, definitely give Nereus a look. They are definitely taking their time with their first foray into the microbrand watch space, and it shows. This is a very well thought out timepiece. It's a great homage of the kind of submariner style watch without blatantly jumping in and copying anything. They came with their own style. I love the color, just that subtle color, blue there on the dial, and then that beautiful aluminum bezel insert. Going in and pre-ordering this watch, I think the combo I'm going for is definitely the blue. I'll Go with no date and with a countdown bezel. I think you're looking at a stellar watch there. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Nereus Santiago. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, or a thumbs down if you don't. And we will see you in the next one.